when I say hell gigs, what's the first one that comes to your mind?
Okay.
You know?
Are you saying that right now, or am I supposed to say action?
We're in it. We're in it.
Oh, well, I was thinking about this with one of the hell gigs. I'm going to mention the first one was in Pittsburgh.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I thought, I mean, we're originally from around the Youngstown, Ohio area. And so we used to get gigs in Pittsburgh, and we had this gig at the Holiday Inn by the airport. And it was this really nice hotel bar, really pretty and everything. And one night there were some people in there that were trying to get a union into a grocery store. And so this fight broke out
like
in the bar. And, literally like here was the stage, and then the bar was like right there. I mean, I was maybe, 12 feet from the bar. I was close. I was within glass throwing proximity, if you know what I'm saying. And so this fight breaks out, and some guy punches this dude in the face, and he goes down, and the whole bar, everybody on a chair, on a stool, went like dominoes. Everybody was on the ground, like a stool. So like some of those people hit the floor. That bar cleared in like 2 seconds. It was gone. The cops come in. That was in Pittsburgh by the airport. I mean, you would have never thought there would have been somebody roundhoused in that bar in 1,000 years. Ever.
That sounds very Pittsburgh. Were you on stage then?
Yeah. Yeah, I was on stage singing.
So,
and
when this is happening, are you like calling attention? Are you like, so we got some people? Are you?
Well, we were always super professional about stuff, unless, of course, they came into our world on our space of the stage. But it happened so fast. It was like, wow, and then we're still singing the song, and the bar's clearing out, and the cops are coming in, and of course, they closed the bar. So we got to quit early that night.
Oh, my God. It's so funny. It's like the things that you have to manage while you're on stage.
Yeah.
Not like you still have to perform and give a good show, but you also have to be aware of like a fight,
Yeah. Well, and you don't know if you're going to get hit. You don't know if something's going to happen to you, or if something's going to start flying. And that was what was always so weird about being in a place that looked kind of swanky, is that kind of stuff could happen in there just as easily, as if you were in some dive somewhere. Now, another time, I'll just keep going if you want me to. Another time we were playing at this place. This was in Warren, Ohio. So Bill and I, my husband, Bill Warner, he's a producer engineer now. We live in Nashville, and I'm a songwriter and a publisher, and I still perform. And so we were on stage with one of your dad's friends, Rich Obertot's.
Yes.
And we had this little trio called Breakaway. This was the name of our band. And so we're up there. This place is called The Rig. And it was next to this really nice country club kind of place called the Avalon Inn, where Bill and I played all the time. But we got this extra little gig at The Rig. So we're up on stage. I'm playing, He's So Shy. It's real nice and adult contemporary. And in come these three big motorcycle dudes come into the door, and they had to duck to get in the door, and they're like 6'12". These people are gigantic, but they've got like these things hanging off their wrists, like if they get in a fight, like the balls with the little spike, like the little mini gladiator things.
Yeah, right.
These dudes sit down at the bar, three, boom, and there's me. He's so shy. And I'm singing, having a nice little time, trying to be nice to the crowd. People are moving away from them, people start leaving. Pretty soon, it's us and those three guys. And they stay for a couple of beers, and they're just sitting there with the beers, like, in good grip in case they got to toss one, I guess, Then they finally left. Then Bill and I would play this gig in Warren. Warren could be a little bit iffy sometimes, So then we were playing this gig in Warren, Ohio, too, at the Brown Derby. You're probably too young to remember the Brown Derby. The original one, I think, was in Hollywood or something. And then they dispersed all over the United States. So there was one in Warren, Ohio. And I forget what the name of the bar was. but there was a big bar, and along around the bar, there were these ram's heads, like what hunting had to do, I guess the brown derby, they're serving meat, I don't know. Anyway, so they got these ram's heads, and so I would make comments about the ram's head. And so one night, some dude yells, and it's just Bill and I on stage. And it was the stage, and do you know what this is like too? When you're on stage, and the stage is just a little bit too far from the people.
Yes.
And you can't, it's like you have to go, hey, to get somebody's attention. You can't really reach them because it's just like too much of a moat or something of space where people walk. I don't know what it is. So anyway, I started commenting about the ram's head, and some guy from the back goes, quit saying stuff about the ram's head. I'll give you a ram's head. And the bartenders are going, you better not say that to her. Don't take her off, because I would banter back and forth, and Bill's leaning over. Whatever you do, don't get me beat up,
Right, yeah, right.
The Brown Derby was a little rough, and there were always like 6 TVs going on at once, and they would never turn the volume down. That's what I loved. So classy.
It's insane, like when people book you for something and they have the TVs on, there's no microphone, the stage is bad, and it's like, how did you think this was supposed to work?
Right. It's just like we're one little added bit of the environment. Right. Like we played gigs, and the gigs at the Opryland Hotel, when we first came here, some guy got kicked in the leg by a horse, and we happened to walk in the agent's office the same day, and we get these amazing gigs at the Opryland Hotel, and we worked there for a long time, and they were the best paying show in Nashville. This is when we first moved to town. But the same thing, too loud. And then it's like that Andy Griffith episode where they keep telling Barney to sing softer, and pretty soon he's lip syncing, They can't hear. That's what you felt like, because they really just wanted you to be just another thing that was at the Opryland Hotel. It wasn't, it didn't ever feel like they were really focusing on the, on the entertainment. And some of the funny gigs there, they weren't really hell gigs, but some of the funny things that happened, we played in this place called the Pickin' Parlor. Okay. I mean, Bill was picking a guitar, but I was,
The name says it all,
the name says it all. And the one manager in there, she was hilarious. Her name was George, and she was really funny. And, it never failed that there would be people that would come in there, like it'd be like the Ranchers Association. And so I'd say to Bill, play Home on the Range, so we'd play Home on the Range, and like they'd all stand up and put their hats over their hearts. So I was always into doing improv-y things in a gig if we started to get a little bit bored.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Because there is I guess, more with music than stand-up. It's like, with stand-up, you have the act, and that's written, and you're going to do it, and sometimes you call an audible. But with singing, it's probably more of like, we are gauging this audience every second,
Yeah.
Right, we're losing them.
Yeah, no, it's really true. And you have to always be watching, feeling out if people are digging the vibe, or, if you were in one of these places where they wanted you to play cover music so people would dance or something, then that was a whole other ball of wax. How can you read somebody's mind? Who knows? But one of the classic ones, this is unbelievable. We got this gig in Bennettsville, South Carolina. I don't even know where it is anymore. I blocked it from the maps every time I look. It's just scratch it out. So we go down to this place, we pull in, and we would drive all day, and we'd get there maybe like in the evening, the night before you had to play a show. We pull in this place. We pull into the town. We can't find it, so we try to use the phones. None of the pay phones worked in the town, because we found out later there had been a tornado like a year before. They had knocked all the phones out, and they never put any phones back. Now, this is before cell phones and, all this. Plus, we're in this remote little place. So we go in there, and we get in the lobby, and it's like, holy crap, I don't think so. So we're ready to call the agent and bail. And we were supposed to be there for a week. It used to usually be like 6 nights, and then you go on the next place, Sometimes you'd get 2 weeks there.
Yeah.
So we go in, and in the lobby, it was like something out of a David Lynch film, and I'm not kidding. It was like, there was like one of those TV monitor things, and they're just scrolling stuff, So here comes an advertisement for in the rooms, an advertisement for like Playboy Channel. You could buy that. Then here comes a picture of Bill and I, like our promo picture, then a picture of like gospel music. So it was Playboy Channel, Kirsti and Bill, gospel music. Okay, so they show us the room. They take us in the room. It's like Psycho. I said, I can't stand here. It's like nothing matched. The lamp looks like it was glued to the table, like the couch hadn't been cleaned in 45 years. And I'm like, I keep thinking about Psycho. So we leave. They give us another room. They put us in this room. The room had flooded. So the carpet was a little bit damp. And then the bathroom had a fish on it, in case you didn't know what the bathroom was. It's like had something to do with water and fish. So anyway, I read like 6 books in 2 days at that gig. But the gig, these people loved us so much, and at the same time they were frightening. When we would play Elvis Presley songs, they would completely lose their minds, and they would never clean the tables off. So I'm not making this up, there would be 40 beer bottles on one table at the end of the night. I mean, if you wanted to do target practice and you couldn't see, you could have hit anything because it was insane. So we call the agent. We go, we got to get out of here. This is not us. This is not our kind of a place. This is not our gig. He's so shy. This is us, He goes, they love you. They want to keep you for another week.
Oh my God.
So the people were really nice. It was just a little bit, not our gig. I mean, it's like, that's when you're talking about, you hired me up on stage. What do I do now? And the same thing with us with the music, it's like, okay, what do we play? Right. Now, what do we play? We're going to repeat Elvis 14 times because we don't really have the right material. You know what I mean? And that would be frightening, not scary, you know what I mean? Like frightening, like, holy crap, how are we going to get through this night because we don't have the right music? But they loved us.
Yeah, it's so funny, like shows like that where you go into it thinking, I don't know if I'm going to get out of here alive. And then by the end, they're like, stay longer.
Yeah, they love you.
You're like, and it's crazy because then sometimes you go to venues where it seems like this should be a walk in the park. Like, this is our crowd. This is the sound's right. The ceiling's right. The lighting's right. And it's horrible.
Yeah.
Like you can't win at all.
Yeah. Well, it's so true. And you think about the gigs, like there were some gigs, and I know you know this probably from doing stand-up, which I'm so intrigued by stand-up comedy and the way you put together, you and any other stand-up comic put together your show, and it kind of in a way is like songwriting where you find a detail in a song, then you have to make more detail about that detail because that makes it interesting, But you would go do these shows and I would think, oh, I am going to absolutely hate this. And then it ended up being really fun because the people that were in the audience, they were really into letting you have your flow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so you could just do your thing. Another gig that was hilarious, and this place is no longer there, but it's up around Youngstown. It's where Route 46 and 80 cross, and it was another Holiday Inn. And in this Holiday Inn, they had this place called the Commodore Lounge. And so the Commodore Lounge was built like a ship, there were murals of pirates all over the wall. And I used to bring a flashlight to the gig. And I would flash on people like, hey, is it your birthday? I'd just be funny, just to amuse myself. And there was this mural of this one pirate, and it looked like this congressman from Youngstown. And I used to always like shine the flashlight and make up songs about him, and make up songs about the pirates. And, Bill said, I'm telling you, you're going to get me beat up one of these days.
Oh my God.
Because he would just play, he sang a few songs, but I was really the one running the show, so to speak.
Wow.
But
That's crazy. And I think the thing is like the bad gigs don't necessarily stop. You just know how to handle them better.
That is so true.
It's like in the early days, for me, that's where they hurt the most because I was so unprepared,
Oh, yeah.
Where I've talked to some comics and I'd be curious to hear your take on it, where like you have those gigs in the first 2 or 3 years when you're still figuring it out and they're so bad that on the way home you're like, am I gonna have to get another job? Or like, am I done with live entertainment?
Yeah.
Do you have any like shows that you played where after you're like, is that it? Like, is that it for me?
Well, I remember that I have to say from the very beginning, like when Bill and I first started playing gigs together, we did a lot of jazz gigs. We were still in college. And so that was kind of my thing. And I sang a lot of jazz gigs around. What would make me feel more than that would make me feel like if we got misbooked, so to speak. And that would be so upsetting. It's like, this agent knows what we're all about. Why are they putting us in this position? Because then you're the one with the face on the stage and you're the one that's there that's having to get through this excruciating, a 40-minute set felt like 3 weeks,
right.
Yeah. And that, I have to say, more than thinking I wanted to get out of it, more than that would just be the thing of, oh my gosh, how are we going to make them understand that this is not our thing? Or do we need to learn, or this was the other thing, do we need to learn like 20 songs in that, in that genre? And I mean, when we played those cover gigs, we knew so many songs because you would get people making requests.
Right.
And so, I used to say to my mom, my gosh, how many times do I have to sing New York, New York, or Patsy Cline's Crazy, because, and the philosophy is, it's like, hey, people they go out twice a year to a club, let's say. Yeah. They get to hear those songs a couple times a year and you're singing them every night. You want to, like, I have to sing. I remember the time I heard Pat Benatar say, I'm going to sing this next song because if I don't, you're going to be really mad, but I really don't like it anymore. And it was Hit Me With Your Best Shot. And I thought, I get it,
Yeah. You're just so tired of it. And, I would be curious from a singer and a musician's perspective, like as a comic, when the crowd starts to get rowdy and shout things out, you have to squash it immediately and get back to the show, right? You can't give them control. But when you're playing music, it's more of a party atmosphere,
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. So, well, I used to always want to really be listened to. I'm like a control freak that way, as you could probably tell from this interview. But at any rate, I always wanted to, be like in control of the show, and like it was going to have this ebb and flow of the sets and everything. But sometimes you'd get in a situation with people where, and I was good enough on my feet that I could just go with people, like I could joke back and sometimes they'd tick me off, and that's when Bill would say, please don't get me beat up. I'm going to end up in the hospital, Right. But he was kind of being funny. I wasn't that bad. But then I would try to kind of use that, and make them sometimes part of the show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I still do that. And, when I'm playing original music, I have a couple songs where, I love audience participation. And I have this one song I do called Family Thing. And so I always say, like, what's your name? Somebody will say Chuck. It's not a good name to say. What's your name?
Right.
I milk it a little bit and go through some people, till I find a name that's fun to sing. Right. You know what I mean? Like Jimmy, name like that. You know what I mean? So
that's pretty interesting. You were saying about how you're building it to like ebb and flow and you want people to listen, because something that I had a hard time with early on, and I wonder if you as well, was talking to people after a show was like excruciating for me. Like, because they would either not know how to compliment you and they'd be like, good skit, and you're like, all right, I'm taking the bridge. Or they would be like, hey, really funny, great stuff. And while you're taking the compliment, there was a part of me that was like, you have no idea how long it took to get, and you're just like Really funny. Great stuff. It's not their job to know, but I like couldn't get over it. You know,
Yeah.
they had.
Yeah. Well, it's expectations, you know, because when you're up on stage and it's feeling really good and you're flowing and they were a great audience, you expect them to treat you like your parent or somebody or your best friend is saying this to you, you know, like, oh my gosh, you're most insane. You know, like they're seeing their favorite singer or whatever. What used to get me is when people would tell me I sounded like somebody else.
Yeah.
But, you know, again, it's like a compliment, you know.
It's like the only way they know how to give a compliment.
Yeah, because maybe, too, they're just excited to talk to somebody that's up on stage. People have really skewed ideas of those of us that are on stage. They think it's super glamorous all the time, and it's not, you know. Right. It's hard work. I mean, you're getting to the gig, then you have to, you know, get to the venue, and you know, then people want to talk to you, and maybe there's a certain way you have to process before you get on the stage. And for me, it was always, I don't want to talk before I have to sing for 3 hours or even for an hour and a half. I don't want to talk a bunch. I'm going to talk after. I want to let my head get there, you know, and then we can talk. You know, don't like mess my head up. You know what I mean? I don't know if you're like that, but yeah, I've always felt that way.
I always hated and still hate, like, you get to the venue and it's like, all right, let's do the sound check or whatever it is, and let's be done. You know, there's really, and then, you know, you have 4 different people coming back. Are you supposed to do this? Are they getting you this? Can we get you, like, you know, I appreciate whatever attention I'm being given, but it's like, this could all be done later, you know? It's
right. And the other thing too is that people, they want to make you feel welcome. They want to talk to you, that kind of thing. But at the same time, you know, every time somebody comes in, it's like, oh my goodness,
right.
You got to be on, off, you know, and you're trying to save the on.
Yes, exactly. Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And especially if you're being paid a lot of money for a show, then you really want to save the on.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You want to make sure you're doing your absolute best, or that the audience is really, really big. And one thing I always tried to do too was I tried to, because we used to travel around a lot. We weren't just in Ohio. We would travel all over. And I would try to find something out about the town or eat something or whatever, you know, that you know, maybe it would make it feel more like, you know, we were friends, you know,
right.
that kind of thing, you know. So we're not just strangers to each other, and especially if you're not well known, or if you're just coming through town and playing a show at a, you know, like a venue at a hotel or something. See, I don't think there's too many gigs like that anymore at hotels. Yeah. Probably because of the cost of it. But I mean, gosh, when we were in our 20s and 30s, holy crap, there were so many gigs like that, and in really nice hotels, you know. So we played a lot of those, and we played a cruise ship one time, several times. We played cruise ships. Oh, how can I forget this one? This may be the biggest hell gig of all. So Bill and I, a couple of years ago, we get hired to play this cruise. I was going to do my Carole King show on the cruise ship, and I was the featured artist. So we were going to be on it for like 8 days. Mm-hmm. So we fly. We get to, forget the name of the little place in Mexico. It was really cute. That's where we're going to get on the ship. We get to the airport. I said to Bill, where's your stuff? He goes, what do you mean? Where's your guitar? They had lost his gear. The guitar, the pedal board, gone. Completely gone. Oh so God. We go get on the ship. So the whole week, these poor people on the ship, they keep going in the next port. We get to the next port. No, it's in the next port. I never got the stuff. But luckily, there was this session player on the ship, and he let Bill borrow his guitar to play 2 shows. They kept moving my show. Like, okay, you're going to play Tuesday night. Get ready. Nope, sorry. We don't have the gear yet. Wednesday night. Ready. Finally, like the second to the last night I was on there, and then I was supposed to even play another show, like with all the people that performed, but we couldn't do it because the guitar player was using his own guitar, you know, so Bill had nothing to play.
That is insane. Did you ever?
That was insane. That was insane. And that gig, you know, and this is what was so funny. I remember we're on the ship and I'm at the piano and they had a beautiful theater and I'm on the piano and I get up and I stood and went, oh, whoa. Oh yeah, I'm on a ship. I'm not on solid ground, you know, because you're like,
right.
You know, you feel like you're going to go running across the stage from the ship.
Oh God. Did they find his stuff? Did they ever
what'd you say?
Did they ever get his stuff back to you?
No.
Oh my
But
God.
yeah, that was probably the biggest hell gig of all. But was I going to tell you about that? Oh, but those musicians that are on there, you know, they're so nice and, you know, God love them. I mean, those people are on there for months. You know, we were only on there for, you know, for like a week or so, but that was probably the topper of the hell gigs. But there were stand-up comics on there on that cruise.
That's a brutal life for a comic, you know, because it's usually like, all right, there's an all ages show, there's a PG-13 show, and then there's an R-rated show, and you have to do the same 30 minutes, and then you're on this boat with the same people some guys would do it for 2-3 weeks.
Oh yeah. Well, some of those people, I mean, we had friends that were on those ships for 3 months.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
But that was the ultimate. I don't know. I guess we've blocked that one from our memory, but that was the ultimate. The ultimate. You fly all that way. You're like, oh yay, we're gonna have fun. And where's your gear? Where's your stuff? What do you mean? Where is it? And then we almost missed the ship because we're trying to communicate with somebody about what we've lost.
Right.
But this was funny. And I brought this little Casio, you know, it's like this big.
Yeah.
You know, so I could practice on the ship. It had a fragile sticker on it. They didn't lose that. That we had. It's like a $60, you know, little keyboard.
Right. You can buy another one if you needed it. You know, that's crazy.
Yeah. That's what's good about being a stand-up. I mean, you don't have to take, I mean, the one guy that was on there, he had a bunch of props and stuff to use. But I mean, you know, if you had to get up and do your show, you know, you could do it.
Yeah, as long as there's a microphone and sound system and like some decent lighting, we can do. And even then, it's not, you know, I've done it without it. But I'm curious because you brought up a couple of times. Did you ever get Bill beat up?
No.
That's good. What was
I remember one time the thing at the Brown Derby. One of the times that I like had a little exchange with somebody, and they came up to me and I was like, you know, they were like some big tall guy, and I'm like, listen, you know.
Yeah, right. That's awesome.
That was pretty spunky, but I always had fun. I mean, like I said, I did a lot of that stuff to amuse myself, you know, because it would be funny. And I used to love to talk to people, and we would have a lot of people locally that would come back and see us, you know, because we'd get into the banter and everything. And we did some, and still do. I do this really funny song called Josefina Polisanolina, and it was a Louis Prima song, and it's like, I call it an Italian rap song because it's got all this pattern. It's about a girl who's in the hallway making out with her boyfriend, and her mother keeps saying, you know, you better quit leaning on the bell. You're waking up the whole apartment building. You know, it's really, really funny. So I do some funny songs. I like doing them. Yeah.
What I like to ask everybody this. It's so unique, I think, but similar with everyone too. You know, we would say in stand-up it's a bomb if you don't do good, but we're like after a bad show, doesn't go well, you don't feel good. What is the coping thing for you? You know, what do you do? Is it, for me, it's like fast food, and I call like 3 different comics, and I'm like, you'll never believe what just happened. What's sort of your thing after a bad show?
I usually just say, well, I guess I need to woodshed on those songs, you know, and then I practice, and I don't really drink any. I probably have to say, I probably go home and eat something.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is about food. That's probably because I came from a part Italian family, you know, food like is always some big comfort to me. But I never have a drink or go into depression or anything like that. I just go, well, that wasn't so good, or we could have done better. That wasn't that's what we'll say. That wasn't one of our best.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's a good way to put that. That's actually, I think a lot of comics could use that mentality. If that wasn't our best,
Yeah.
because usually as a comic, it's like, that was horrible. Like, we jump to the worst thing all the time.
Well, and two, it's like, it's in you.
Right.
It's in you. And it's just some nights and some shows, it's just not going to come out the same because you're human and we're not robots and can't plug in and push a button and it's the same every time. And that's cool too, because as long as you're always getting better and as long as you're always understanding how to get better, it's like even stand-up comics that I've watched, on TV, like some of my favorites, you see how they evolve and how they're trying things. And and I just always go, because I've been on that, not as a comic, but as a performer. Right. I always think to the audience, man, just let them have their space. Let's let them see what they can get out of this. They need to feel it with the people there and the applause and the laughter and the response,
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with singing a song, like you hear a singer sing a song and maybe they drag out the ending, or, they they hold a note real long and then they wait and they're milking it,
Right.
And you have to give performers that time to shine, because a lot of times we're trying stuff.
Right. You're just you're literally figuring it out while you're up there,
Yeah, because that's how we're wired. We're not afraid to get on stage. I mean, don't they say that that's like one of the biggest fears people have is public speaking? And so not me and you, we're like, bring it on,
Right.
So we're up there doing our thing. And that's what we love. And I just did a Facebook Live show for an arts theater a couple weeks ago. And it was so funny to be on that, Facebook Live, and that's Bill right now, to be on that Facebook Live and not have, you're hearing people, you're trying to make up for all that stuff that isn't going on that you're used to hearing. That felt funny.
Yeah. I've done a few of the Zoom shows and stuff, and the delay, and there's like only one or two people laughing because everyone's muted, and you're just like, all right, this is about enough time it takes. I'm gonna go to the next one.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
I know. It feels funny, and it's just, maybe the way we're gonna have to get through that. There's everybody talks about the new normal. Who the heck knows what it is? Nobody knows.
Yeah. I think nobody knows every day, it's just always changing.
And that's why it's so great, to be doing your podcast, because it's a really great platform for what you want to do. And you've even got a brick wall. I mean, that looks like 80% of the comedy clubs in this country. I
know. This is like the only piece of home I feel like I have. Sometimes I'll just stand in front of this at night and just remember the good old days. I'll have like a club soda and a rocks glass and just stand.
Yeah, you'll throw a couple eggs at the wall.
Yeah, right.
Thank you. Good night.
Just to feel
yeah.
it. Oh my God. I cannot thank you enough for doing this. This was so fun. It's such a cool perspective.
Well, thanks for having me.
Of course. Please tell people like where they can find you, where they can hear you. I mean,
sure.
It's usually just my dad that listens, but I'm sure he'd like to know.
Yeah, well, I'll tell him and anybody else who wants to check us out. So I started a podcast recently called Kirsti Cast, and you can find that on all the platforms, of course. And you can find my music on Spotify, Kirsti Manna. That's Kirsti Manna, because people never spell my name correctly. And you could go to my website, Kirsti.com. You can go to Kirsti@songwritergirl.com. And my socials are SongwriterGirl1. So awesome. You can find me all over the place.
Awesome. Thank you again so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me, Collin.